This lesson is on a very important part of the quant section known as data interpretation. Data interpretation is a set of questions that test your ability to understand and interpret data. This data is visually represented in the form of a table, a chart, or a graph. On the basis of this data, you would have to calculate something. Now, this calculation would be based on basic arithmetic, high school level maths. This would involve the calculation of, say, averages, ratios, and so on. As a banker, you have to be really good at understanding data because your daily work will involve reading reports, seeing market trends, understanding customer information, and so on. So you have to be familiar with different chart types. And the IBPS exam, therefore, has questions on data interpretation in order to test you on the same. The structure of the question would be one graph or a chart or a table and about 4 to 5 questions following it which are based on that graph or chart or table. Since every question in the IBPS exam is a multiple choice question, there would be 5 choices given for each question and you would have to choose the same. There are some basic chart types that the IBPS focuses on. We have distilled only those chart types and knowing those is sufficient for the IBPS exam. The first is a table, second a column or a bar chart, third is a line graph, and 4 is a pie chart. Let us go through each of these chart types and understand them thoroughly. The first is a table. Given here is a table that displays the different products sold at various branches of a store called Vimal Electronics. If you just look at this table, you see that the columns are labeled Store 1, Store 2, Store 3 and Store 4. The rows are labeled monitors, keyboards, printers and laptops. So how would you read this table? If you look at column 1, you can see that Store 1 sold 21 monitors, 31 keyboards, 46 printers and 33 laptops. Similarly, if you look at column 2, Store 2 sold 28 monitors, 39 keyboards, 47 printers and 38 laptops. So each cell here, that is each intersection of a row or column, is one data point. A table is different from other charts in the sense that the exact number is given to you. Let us now look at a column chart. This is the same data of Vimal Electronics sales displayed to you in a column chart. Let us look at the different components of this chart. This is the heading. The heading tells you what this chart is all about. At the bottom is something called a legend. Now if you look at the chart, you see that the different columns have different colors. So how do you understand what each column is? For instance, Store 1 has a blue column, orange column, grey column and yellow column. Similarly for Store 2, Store 3 and Store 4. So how do you know what is the grey column? The legend tells you what each column stands for. So in this chart it's telling you that the blue column means a monitor, orange means keyboard, grey means printer and yellow means laptop. Each chart has 2 axes. The axis along the bottom of the chart is called the x-axis. And the axis that is vertical is known as the y-axis. Now to read the individual value of each column, you have to see where it is incident on the y-axis. For example, the blue column on Store 3 tells you that since it is blue, it's monitors, and if you look at the corresponding value on the y-axis, it is 90. So this chart tells you that Store 3 sold 90 monitors. A bar chart is the same as a column chart, only it is flipped. So the x-axis is the y-axis and the y-axis is the x-axis. The interpretation and the meaning is the same for both a column chart and a bar chart. It's just the orientation that is different. The third type of chart is a line graph. Now, instead of putting columns and bars to display the data, each data point is denoted by a specific dot. The dot is also called a marker. Now, these markers are connected by a line. Line graphs are typically used to display trends, that is, how things move over time, and so on. The fourth type of chart is a pie chart. Now, a pie chart is a circle divided into different sectors. The thing about the pie chart is it is not two-dimensional. For example, a column chart had multiple columns for multiple products. A line chart had different lines for different products, that is, a monitor, a keyboard, a laptop had separate lines indicating trends for each. In a pie chart, that is not possible. You can make a pie chart for only one variable. Now, this pie chart shows you the sales of exactly one product. I will not tell you what that product is. Look at the numbers displayed here, 21, 21, 28 and 90. Go back in the video to the previously displayed charts and try and figure out the product for which this pie chart is describing the sales. We will now look at some tips and shortcuts for solving data interpretation questions. The first is to approximate. The IBPS exam is a computer-based exam. So this graph will be displayed on a computer. Therefore, it is not possible to read it accurately. You will have to approximate. It's completely fine to approximate because the IBPS is not testing you on your exact calculations. Therefore, rounding off of values is perfectly acceptable. To make things easier, round off numbers on the graph to the nearest multiple of 5. For example, if something looks like 34, approximate it to 35. This will make your calculation simpler and you can solve the problem faster. Second, glance through all the questions. Now each graph or table will be followed by 4 to 5 questions. Go through all of them and choose the easiest and quickest question. The IBPS exam has 100 questions in the prelims that you must solve in 1 hour. There is no time really to solve all of them. You have to choose whatever is the quickest, solve it and move on. Third is to read the headings. Each graph or table will have a heading. This heading can be a source of information. You can understand a lot about that chart just by reading the heading. Therefore, do not ignore whatever is given in the heading, in the legend, the labels of the X and Y axis, etc.